the happiness is drained at this stage because there is an overwhelming
Stage.
An overwhelming, not desire, push, an overwhelming push towards you physically. You are working, the house girl, and then you've gotten a baby, and then the house girl wants to
2
leave
weeks
in the
later,
morning,
they are going.
and then you have a husband who's making demands on your life,
Yeah.
and this can be very stretching
Yeah.
for that girl. So we would call this the donkey years. You haven't had the years of the donkey.
Hello, welcome to Shine with NJOKI KAMANJA. Okay, this is the good day that the Lord has given us, and we are going to rejoice and be glad in it. It doesn't matter what we are going through, but we are going to rejoice because we know that the good Lord is going to give us what we deserve. And I am praying that all of you are learning what from the episodes that we give you, the health episodes, the counseling episode, and we are introducing another episode called the Friends Tag, which I'm doing with my best friend. And today, I remembered that I just hit 30 years. And my counselor was telling me that there are stages of women, and I was like, oh, let me know which stage I am in. So we are going to connect with our counselor, Trizah Macharia, and let's get into the video. So how are you?
I'm fine, Joki.
Say hi to the audience so that we can dive into the topic.
How are you? And thank you so much for keeping it here. My name is Trizah Macharia, and I love the Lord Jesus. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession.
Wow. Now, when I told you, hey, hi, Mom, I have hit that, and you're like, hey, now I need to tell you the stages of a woman. I was like, are there stages? A woman is a woman. So I want you to tell us which are these stages of a woman.
Now, first let's start and say this, that God created seasons.
Yeah.
We get into summer, we get into winter, spring,
Autumn.
Yeah, because God is a God of seasons.
Yeah.
And even in all our lives, there are seasons. How are we developing? How are we moving? How are we transitioning?
Yeah.
And especially for a woman, the seasons are there. And that is what we call the stages of a woman. Some psychologists have divided them into 3, others into 4. But I like the division into 6 because it gives it a fine-tuning. Yeah? Now, the first stage of a woman, when does a woman qualify to be called a woman? A woman qualifies to be a woman after the adolescent stage. That is between the age of 13 years. So this stage, between 13 to 25 years, is a stage which we call the blossoming stage.
They are looking all fine.
All fine. And everything is just...
They are glowing.
They are glowing.
They have
their
good
looks,
shapes.
The shapes are coming into being. The physical changes are especially just what the blossoming is about.
And they are vibrant.
They are vibrant. They are full of energy. So the blossoms, what we would call the girls at that stage.
Dr. Kibe said that this is when the hormones
are at their peak. Actually, the sexual hormones and everything about that girl is up there, including her confidence. Sayo ndio unapigiwa tubinja, unatukana mtu bado anapiga simu. That is a woman's finest stage. Actually, it is because she's at her most vibrant, she's at her most beautiful. Between the age of 13 to 25, that is when you glow. In fact, I remember one time they used to say, akijua, when 2 girls would become at a certain stage between 7 and 8 years, 9 years towards 12, juu wanacheza wajakehe huko, they kwa jua and all that, they don't know how to bathe, so they are dark. So I would hear women say, katakuwa keupe,
kakijua kuoga.
You know that. So that is the stage of kujua kuoga. So the girls at their best during that
with some skincare routine. Some
yes.
sprays, you know, refilling, even if you don't have money. And some tumba there, kashipon.
And that is a stage where most girls really need to watch out. Because at that stage, you remember, as Dr. said, the hormones are way up there. So their sexual appetite is also at its peak. And at this stage, there is also a lot of experimentations. there is a lot of identity crisis, and that's where most of the girls get confused and say, I think I'm gay, I think I'm bi, you know. Sexual identity issues, those are the main issues at that stage. Biologically, maybe daktari would tell you more, but there are also issues of cramps. For some people, the acne, which can kill the confidence of the girls. There can be issues of girls who become sexually active of a lot of infections, STDs. Hapo ndio watu ugonjekea, zinaitwa nini zile dudu zinatembeaga kwa pubic hair. Most girls get those things at that stage, those who are sexually active. So that's like a stage. Contraceptives, they are into contraceptives. Squeezy wanakunywa a lot of P2s, nasikia. So that is that stage of the blossoming girl. We talked about the physical, and then we talk about the psychological changes. The psychological changes are like the strive to become perfect. They want to compare themselves with other people, and so they can easily suffer disorders like eating disorders. Feeling I'm too fat, I'm not,
I don't have the shape.
I don't have the shape, I need to add a bit of weight. Those can become very major issues to girls at that age. Hizo ndio zinakuanga mashida zile kubwa sana zao. Other psychological issues can be the unconscious desire to be attractive towards people of the opposite sex. So hiyo ndio a crushing comment from a man concerning their looks or their figure can totally destroy that girl. And then there can be conflicts, a lot of conflicts, because they are trying to get their independence. They are trying to develop.
Not telling you anything.
They are trying to develop what we call individuality. Nataka kukua a person of my own, so they push limits. So conflicts with parents, conflicts with authorities is one of the major marks of the blossoming stage in a girl. And how can this girl deal with these issues? First, psychoeducation, and I love that they're doing it in schools. So they talk to the girls about the changes that are going on around them. And even the psychological issues that come with some girls develop bigger breasts than what they think is normal. Other girls, kifua inakaa sana kabla haijatoka, and they're feeling like they are not woman enough.
Another thing like this.
So all of those are issues that people experience during that stage of life. And this is a school going stage. They are in high school and colleges. So that is that stage of the blossoms.
And the next stage, before we go to the next stage, in this stage, because even in schools they are doing life skills. Now as the parent to the blossoming stage girl, how does she help this person to maneuver? Because now you know, is this your child? And you, as you have said, one day we are telling them you are a kid, then the next time we are telling them you are grown up. How can this parent, like in summary, how can this parent maneuver around this girl without demoralizing them? Because they are, when I was growing up, we were being told, shinda kwa barabara uzurure huko uniletee mimba.
Ya mama zetu walizaliwa na mama moja. Now I think as a parent, and I know most people disagree with this, but I believe a girl from the age of 13 should begin to be given some levels of freedom. Freedom and expression of trust. So what you're trying to do here is build a level of responsibility in this girl. Misi ita kuchunga, now you are growing up, you're becoming a grown up. You need to be able to take care of yourself. Very candid conversations are important. Hizo vitu za kina mama zetu, they are outdated. I cannot go telling my daughter, go and bring me a pregnancy. You know, those are outdated. They are worse problems. If she brings HIV/AIDS. And I think because their parents were still stuck in that era, that's why girls are more scared of pregnancy than they are of AIDS.
It's true.
And in fact, I can't remember the researchers on this, but they said the level of infection of HIV and AIDS is at an all-time high among teenagers and people of around this age, 13 to 25. And we can see it. Shule zikifungwa, they are caught drinking and having orgies. You know, campus students are having orgies all the time because our children are more scared of being pregnant, and now they have known how not to get pregnant. But then, so have conversations with your children, candid ones. There's nothing as good as talking to your child and knowing that if they do, it's not because I never told them. So have those conversations with them. If you are unable to have those conversations, like now in Deliverance Church Zimmerman, there was a harvest conference, and I was following it online. And some of the conversations that were being had there were so important.
Like the one on sexuality.
Oh, I loved that
I
too.
loved it.
Yeah, so those conversations, expose them to places where they can have that. Invest not only in their education, but also in their psychological wellness, in their spiritual wellness. Invest wholesomely in these children, especially at that age. Sunday school camps, those are good, and I still advocate for them. But when they're in their teenage and up to the age of 25, these children need to be guided. They need more guidance than they need discipline. Discipline works for children between 0 to 12 years. From 13 years, sasa hiyo nyinyi kiboko itafanya kazi, kelele itafanya kazi. For a 13 years to a 25-year-old, kelele does not work. What those children need is guidance. They also need a level of friendship, such that this person now, you are not screaming at them, yelling at them and making them your enemy. You're trying to pull them to yourself so that when they have questions concerning life, they can be able to ask you. When they get to a place in life where they cannot understand a relationship issue, they can be able, and for the mothers of girls, because those ones are the ones that are making it even worse. Wacheni hao wasichana walete boyfriend nyumbani. Let me tell you.
That is the reaction of my mother at home.
I did this experiment. I was coming from somewhere, and I had just talked about how girls should be given the freedom and told, if I don't want you to make a bad, and this is a conversation I've had with my own daughter. I don't want you to make a bad name for yourself. Ukipatana na watu umesimamishwa kwa makona za vijiji. If somebody wants to talk to you, mwambie akupate kwenyu.
Now, from 25 to the age that I am in, I know it's another stage.
That we call the reproductive stage of development of life. And the reproductive stage between 25 and 35 comes with certain things. Physically, they say this is the stage your body is at its strongest. Yani Mungu anajua unahitaji hiyo energy.
Upate watoto.
Kufanya kazi. So certain things are happening at this reproductive stage. Number one of the normal things that should happen, a guy called Eric Erickson said it is a stage which he starts at 21 to 35 that we call intimacy versus isolation. So 21 to 35, now the girl is beginning to develop relationships that are more permanent, that are more intimate, towards and with the hope of getting into a lifetime relationship, maybe a marriage. You know, even with her peers now, she gets to, there is maturity in the relationships. Because they are seeing this girl as my best mate, as the one who will be the godmother to my children. Now, so the seriousness of the relationships of that woman now increases. She becomes more intentional about the way she relates even with people of the opposite sex. If she's a healthy woman psychologically, then she's also looking at potential spouses. You know? So that's that stage. It's also a stage where you have left campus and now it's time to work. So you've gotten into a job, career. Some people are still advancing with education. And this is a space where the energy is required at its most. You know why? Because at this stage, first you're getting into intimate relationships. Chances are you're also getting
children.
You're getting married.
Oh.
And then you're getting children. And then you have a job, you have a career to juggle. You have children. You have a marriage to sustain. So this is a year that calls for a lot of energy for most women. And where we said it is intimacy versus isolation. If a woman does not get into an intimate relationship at this stage, then at the age of 35, this woman begins to isolate herself. She begins to get lonely. She begins to wonder, what is the problem with me? So I tell girls, wacheni maringo mingi.
Tuingie a box.
Okay, if you look at a guy with potential, between the age of 21 and 35, this is the time you need to be considering, would this one do it? This is the time you should be considering, this relationship I'm in, is it helping? Where is it heading? Where is it going? Because even biologically, the clock, we say, is beginning to tick at this point. It's easier to get children. It is even easier physically to bear children. And I think Daktari must have said this, below the age of 35.
Yeah, he says that the hormones are going down now.
Yeah, from 35 going upwards. So it is a stage of childbearing, it is a stage of, and the woman can get burdened. If there is one thing that the happiness is drained at this stage, because there is an overwhelming
Stage.
An overwhelming, not desire, push, an overwhelming push towards you physically. You are working, the house girl, and then you've gotten a baby, and then the house girl wants to leave in the morning, and then you have a husband who's making demands on your life, and this can be very stretching for that girl. So we would call this the donkey years. You haven't had the years of the donkey.
Hey, 5 more years for me.
Yes.
To leave the donkey
za kubeba. Za kubeba.
Mizigo ya maisha.
Mizigo. Sasa hiyo ndio ulikuwa unatoka job, unaingia, unaweza decide leo sisiki kupika, you enter into a fast food place, take yourself come kuku and chips, unaenda umeingia kwa kitanda yako umelala. Now you've gotten into a place where your body is required by other people. Responsibilities can come with stress, a lot of it. And for most people, most ladies during this stage, you remember in the first stage you said their sexual hormones are way up there. Now the sexual urges are overtaken now by fatigue because of the many responsibilities. So there are conflicts in the marriage that begin, especially once the babies come, because now this woman is tired. There are too many demands over her body. She's sleep deprived. So sexual urges kind of go down for this woman. So some of the things maybe we can talk about this woman helping her at this stage. Maintaining friendships, maintaining social support. Me, I'm always for social support, because some of the ladies get lost in these roles and responsibilities, and then in the marriage, in the work, in the children, and in all that, this woman tends to forget herself. So she needs to prepare schedules, and in those schedules, ensure that there is time for herself. And then she also needs to ensure proper feeding. If you're not feeding well at this stage, na ndio unarikwaiwa kuamuka kunyonyesha usiku na asubuhi, your boss still has deadlines that you need to meet. Your bones at their strongest and your body is at its strongest at this age, but it needs to be fed properly in order to maintain that energy and that strength. Learn to shelve some things. There's a video we had done about the suffering woman. He punda hii. It is
he's suffering.
Is that stage where now you girls are complaining, the suffering woman, because there's so much. So learn to make programs for your work, for the way things should run in your house. Get help. You will not always need this help. Remember, these are just phases of life you're passing. Unapita, nikupita unapita. Another time you'll not be in that stage. So get help, as much help as you can be able to get. Washing machines, what you can be able to get someone else to do it. Let someone do it. And also, try to maintain the house girls. try to maintain them. And how
but
do you
we want to maintain them, but some of them are not maintainable.
Nasema, if your child is at 5 months and you get a girl who stays for 3 months, alimpata akiketi, atamuacha akitambaa. Si tunasonga?
Tunasonga.
Yeah, tukisonga tu tukitoka kwa hii stage. So try and get help. Don't give up on house girls. And when you get a good one, try to also help them, because work at home is a lot.
It's true.
Yeah, it is a lot. Wow. The next stage of a woman is what we call the premenopause stage of a woman. That's between the age of 35 to 45 years. And this we call the superwoman stage. The kind of drama a woman deals with at this stage. Most of your children now, for those who are already married, are entering into their teenage. So you're dealing with teenage drama. If you're married to a husband who is around or about your age, he's entering into what we call midlife
crisis.
Midlife crisis. So you are also advancing in your career. So at the earlier stages might have been an introduction to your career. You're still trying to juggle as you're getting married. And then now it comes with advancement in career. So there is more demand on your work. And then you have all the drama to deal with at home with midlife crisis men and teenage children. All of those things also tend to take a toll on a woman. But you know what? At this stage, this woman is also going through several changes in the body. Your body is now transitioning from the reproductive stage and now heading towards menopause. And certain changes happen within the body, just inside of them. Maybe Daktari will let you know about this. I'm not a doctor. But one of the things that I know is that there are a lot of hormonal changes, which brings imbalance. So there are a lot of reproductive issues that go on. Sometimes there's a lot of bleeding. Sometimes you are having discomforts. Sometimes you're reacting to family planning methods. So a lot of drama is going on in this woman's life. But she's also learning to adjust. And that's why we call her the superwoman. Because this woman now is learning to rise above the situations. She's learning to rise above the challenges. She's getting now a hang of how to keep house girls, when to chase them, when yes. So she's now learning the art of balancing. And these are the kind of women now who get to a place, and now I've gotten the hang of this, and they can put up even more responsibilities on themselves. So on top of the job, unaweza pata anerudi shule in their 40s.
Anauza mboga jioni.
And akona an extra business. So they are also getting more demands on their finances. Kwa hivyo mama sasa anaweza juggle so many things together, and that's why we call her the superwoman. So one of the things that the superwoman should do first is get help. Help from other women. Help from also learning to love yourself. Your body is not the same way it was in teenage, and sometimes there can come with that awareness. If your husband is going through a midlife crisis and you learn that he's having an affair, most women at this stage need to be careful that you don't crash. How do they crash? They crash because they begin to suffer things like depression, ulcers, and this is a stage where most women now begin to develop lifestyle diseases.
Kabag kakona tudawa.
Kabag kakona tudawa, if they are not careful. But those ones who learn to adjust to the different changes, then they tend to get over these stages very, very well.
Wow.
Now
the next one, we are entering into the menopause.
The menopause, yes.
This is, I see many women doing this.
Oh, I was just some minutes back I was telling you guys
open the windows. and I always used to ask, mbona wanajipepeta kila wakati? And as we are just there, we are okay. Let's talk about that stage.
Let's talk about menopause. Okay, I would mpaka umesema hivyo kajasho kameanza
kama taramka.
So the menopause period is between the age of 45, for some women all the way to 55, some up to 60. And menopause is not something that happens. You know, most people imagine it is just one day you wake up and there are no periods.
You're in menopause.
It is
it doesn't happen like that. You're like, I turned 50, no more periods, that's it.
No, actually it starts from the age, for some people even menopause is beginning earlier, depending on certain factors. So there are women who are beginning menopause at 35. And it can go all the way up to the age of 60, 55, some people earlier 50, mtu anakuwa periods completely have stopped. So the menopause period is also what we call the midlife period.
No, for the women.
For the women. Na sasa ile phrase unasikia yasipangwingwi, I would dare you to go and find out. The phrase came from a woman who's around that stage. It can be a stage that comes with a bit of rebellion. You know, this woman has seen it.
I don't care.
Sasa anafika mahali pa, I don't care anymore. So the menopause period comes among the physical changes, of course, is progressively. The periods begin to reduce. But they don't completely reduce. Sometimes they become irregular before they completely stop. So you can find for 5 years, you have irregular periods. For 2 months, they don't come, and then they come like a flood. And these women, if you ever find out an elderly woman who has stained her dress, then probably she's a menopausal woman. Because the periods of a menopausal woman, they don't give warning. We can't check the calendar. They come suddenly. And sometimes it is a flood of it. They are many and very fluid, unlike periods of the women in earlier stages. So it comes with that, with that kind of. And because of the hormonal changes, now what happens is that the body begins to transform. So the shape of that woman changes. So among the physical changes you will notice, women who are in the menopausal stage, your stage ya kutopangwingwa, the waistline disappears, and in its place comes a pot. You know why? The male hormones in that woman are increasing and the female hormones are decreasing. So the woman's body tends to take up more masculine features. So for some women you'll find they're having beards, wanakuwa na ndevu. That's a menopausal side effect. Some women you will find they begin to, I said the change of shape, unapata ameanza kudevelop kapot. Mshipi ilikuwa inafungiwa hapa, sasa inafungiwa hapa juu, just above the breast. That is one of the effects of menopause. And then of course there is the stopping or the reduction of periods up to a point where it ceases. Now for these women, for some of these women, it comes with irritability. Because of the hormonal changes, it comes with irritability. Kwa hivyo wanakasirika haraka sana. They get angry, they very easily. They get
sometimes they are calm.
Sometimes they can be calm, but they tend to be more irritable than calm. So there can be that period of calmness, but if you find them getting easily irritable, then it's because of the hormones that are going on around them. They also tend to draw towards, now this is a stage of maturity. This is a stage of maturity. They tend also to become a bit anxious. They develop anxiety. Some of them come with regrets. They're thinking, Sasa, I only gave birth to 2 children. All my children have gone. It can come with the depression, what we call the empty nest syndrome, because the children are now leaving home. You remember in the previous stage, they were entering into teenage. Now in this other stage that you're entering into, your children are disappearing. Wanaanza kuolewa.
Moja.
You know, amemaliza, like now the other day, my daughter is telling me, Mom, you better be ready. Next year, from January, if all goes well, I'm shifting.
Hey.
You know, so the
Sasa
empty nest. Mimi na nguruwe. Na Mr. Macharia hapa. So the empty nest syndrome is also one of, which is a form of depression for women when their children leave the house. One of the things that affects them. Now, funny enough, because now they are now no longer, some of them after menopause, they don't take family planning or contraceptives. So they tend to enjoy some liberty sexually. They are no longer anxious about children. Ameacha kufikiria juu ya bwana vile anafanya. They no longer asking questions about where have you been, who have you been with. Women of that age tend to be very, very liberated.
And this is where they are getting the intense.
That is where they, because listen, umeona ile male hormone imeongezeka ndani ya mwanamke. Na sasa hiyo male hormone, most of that male of the sexual urges of men can be traced to the
woman,
to the male hormone.
Okay.
And now this male hormone is increasing in the woman. So she tends to become more sexual. Hana mambo ya kujali juu ya house girl, juu ya watoto, juu ya bwana.
Mambo ni free.
Anajipenda. And women at that stage now begin to take better care of themselves. They realize, haya, maisha ni fupi.
Hapo ni pedikiwa zamani.
They take very good care. They love on themselves. They are no longer caring what anyone else is doing or what they are not doing. And the concentration now begins to go back to themselves. So it's a stage we call back to me now. It's back to me. Now it's self-care. So they concentrate on themselves and their sexual appetite increases. If they are not married, some of them will prefer younger men. And that's why I say when people are criticizing some weddings between celebrities and older women, they don't understand it. But now those ones are perfect sexual matches. Because women at their 45, kwenda juu, they're at their sexual peak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, after menopause, I don't know another stage is for me.
As for you, don't know another
I'm
stage.
thinking now this is the last one. Hapa ni mteremko.
Fifth stage of a woman is what we call the retirement or freedom stage to explore. And this is between the age of 50 years, 60 to 65, sometimes up to 70, depending on where life began. And depending on the person. Now, during this stage, what is happening mainly? The freedom is coming from certain negative things could be happening. Most of these women are becoming widowed. Their husbands, most of them are losing their spouses. They are losing their friends. Most of these women are retiring from work. So they are living
the social life.
Not even the social life first, but specifically they are living a routine. And going, that they are used to. I was used to employment. I wake up every morning, go to this and do this. So for those who are employed, they are used to a certain kind of routine. So they are at a stage where now they sit and reflect. So those who lived out their lives very well, planned well, invested in good children, invested their finances when they were making the money, tend to become more content. They are more peaceful. They are more at peace with themselves and they are more at peace with the nature around them. So those are your mothers-in-law. If they brought up their children very nicely,
they are at peace. My son married a good woman.
If she worked on her marriage and she has a good relationship with her husband now, she tends to be happy, she tends to be content and more at peace. If, on the other hand, she has regrets, she neglected her children, now the children are gone, sasa ndio anawataka, and now the children may also not be in need of her. So they tend to become bitter. And they tend to call for attention. So unaanza kuona
muliniachilia
magonjwa zenye haziishagi. So those women especially are pretenders. So if they are bitter,
the ones who
if they have regrets,
coughing and they don't have a cough.
Anapiga simu immediately, ako hapo hebu nipigie hii simu. Alafu akishapigiwa hiyo simu anachukua anaanza.
You remind me of my late grandma. May God rest her soul.
Yeah, it's that stage of drama for them, partly because they have regrets. They never invested in relationships with their children. So they are afraid that when the children have gone, they'll not care about them. They'll not take care of them. They'll not come to visit them. It's also a stage of adjustment. If they lived in Nairobi, in the urban areas all their lives, and now you have gone into retirement, nyumba ilikuwa ya kampuni. and you're going back up country. So you're losing your friends. You see where the friends are being lost. You're changing environments. You are changing a lifestyle. Kwa sababu ulikuwa umezoea lifestyle ya town, maisha mzuri, sasa umerushwa up country. So ole wako, if you had no savings, it becomes very depressing for these women, and no wonder they end up becoming problems for their children. So that is like a freedom. But if the happy ones of these women, you will love to be around them. First, because they have invested. So in their 50s, in their 60s, they are driving their own cars. In their 50s, their 60s, they still have maintained some friendships. So they are hanging out with some girls. They have made enough money for themselves. Wali invest, wako na tuploti, wanachukua pesa. So they can afford to join a kachama that takes them to Mombasa on holiday, to Nakuru, Lake Nakuru. So you tend to become more peaceful, more graceful at your 50s or 60s stage if you invested well in your earlier stages of life, if you are more settled. But you become bitter, you become angry, you become a burden if you did not invest well. Now, the last stage. So what, maybe we can first see, how does this woman now, in this stage, help herself? Most women at this stage now will invest their life into the spiritual. So they are the woman... Fellowships,
Bible study.
Bible study. I belong to something we call the BSF, Bible Study Fellowship, and we have a lot of women in that stage, including myself.
You want to invest in that stage, you want to be in that stage.
Yes, we are investing now spiritually. You know why? Because now we are losing some of our friends also. So we are realizing, there is an eternity. And then there is the aspect of loneliness, and the only social support, kama ulikuwa unakaa Nairobi uende Gishagi, the only other place you can get that social support is where? It is in a church. So they tend to concentrate more on the things of God. Wamekula raha, wameenda na mabenten, wamechoka. So sasa ni saa ya kutulia. Kipindi cha lala salama.
Kutubu sasa. Enda vizuri vizuri.
Na kutulia, So
some of them had bleached.
Some of them had bleached. And now looks stop becoming so important to these women. And what they need to do, especially those who have gone into retirement. If you have a mother and your mother has gone into retirement and she has gone up country, the best way for that woman, because remember socially now she's losing out on people, get her engaged in activities that will give her another form of routine. So it can be activities that will engage her emotionally. It can be a shop, because that shop, watu wanakuja, anapiga story, anatengeneza tu pesa. So those things are good for them. It can be raising animals, that akona ng'ombe hapo, anaongelesha.
Sasa wewe, haukuli.
Sasa nini bana? Wewe wacha na wewe ule mwingine akule. So she's keeping herself busy. She doesn't have that stress. And she's also generating a bit of income and feeling useful. And then because there's no one to live with her in the house, she needs those animals. She needs those birds.
I would hear some women saying, anani usiku wa manane, wewe gotidege koga. Sasa hiyo umbo itashinda hapo ikipiga kelele. Wacha sisi tulale saa 7.
So allow them. Some people say, hey, unajichokesha mama, hapana. She needs those things. She needs those things so that she can be able to enjoy the remaining years of her life, so that she can get the social interaction that she needs, the emotional interaction from those animals. If she doesn't have birds she can talk to, she can hear the cock crow in the morning, she can, because there is no more children in the house unless they have grandchildren who are living with them. So that is that stage of a woman's life. And we still have one more stage.
We have one more. Okay, which one? The one we are going to the Lord.
The last stage of someone's life, if you live long enough to get to that stage, is what we call the sunset stage of life. Now, uto ndio tushosho, between the age of 65 to death. That is the last stage of a woman's life. And now, more than ever, this woman is in the reality of life after death. She has buried probably her spouse. She has buried some of her children. She has buried neighbors and friends. So this woman is at that stage. And one of the major challenges of women at this stage is that they were used to activity, because the more you advance in age, remember from the donkey years, alafu unafika mahali una adjust. Si ati ile kazi ya donkey imeisha completely, lakini you have made adjustments. You have worked and worked, but the body now is drained. First, the muscles are at their weakest, the bones are at their weakest, you're wrinkled. And this is not a stage you're caring about your looks anymore. Now all you're caring is to wake up in the morning, you know. So this is a stage, what we call the sunset years, the stage of a woman, of the last days of a woman. And these last days of a woman, from the age of 65, kwenda juu huko, one of the things is that they have no sex drive. Completely. They just become dry. In fact, the body just goes dry.
Yeah, and a long time ago, I would see grandmothers and grandfathers now even have separate bedrooms.
Yeah, and fights. Have you ever asked yourself why Togukas and Tushoshos are always fighting? You know why? Men in their 70s have the sex drive of an 18-year-old.
Jesus Christ. Now these are the wababas.
Those are the
wababas are taking
the
pressure pills and still going for the girls.
Yes, their sex drive is at their peak, but the sex drive of the shosho now is gone. So now there'll be conflicts, and that is why shoshos are always taking vehicles back to Nairobi, those ones who have husbands. Nitaikuwa wega, nataka kukuja nyumbani, nataka kukuja nikaone daktari, naumwa sana. They are trying to run away from this guy because now
it's too much.
It's too much. And this woman has no sex drive at all. So there is that. Some couples, because it doesn't mean sex should end because you've gotten to your 70s. Sometimes there are couples that understand one another, invest in lubrication. And there are women who know how to do some exercises, get themselves re-energized even before they go to the grave. So that is the sunset years of a woman. And of course, there are so many other details. Maybe because of the length of the video, we may not go into all the details.
So thank you so much for watching this video, and may the good Lord bless you. And if you're a woman, you've known your stages, and you're going to take care of yourself, remember you're the light and you can shine. This is Shine with NJOKI KAMANJA Kethi.
Shine with NJOKI KAMANJA Kethi.